I just kept setting new goals. And along the way came a half marathon. And further down the line came a full marathon. And then summiting Mount Whitney, which is the highest peak in the lower 48 states. But here I was, a woman in her 50s, a recovering couch potato, who suddenly was doing all these things outside and inspiring myself essentially to continue and looking for new ways to challenge myself mentally and physically.
Welcome to Real Fit, a podcast featuring real conversations with real women athletes. I'm your host, Pam Moore. I'm a freelance writer, body positive health coach, certified personal trainer, and a mom of two. And like you, I don't have time for bullshit. I created this show for every busy, badass woman who struggles with the question, am I enough? I'm here to tell you that you are, and my goal is to share stories that will inspire you and let you know you're not alone. Thanks for being here for this episode of Real Fit. Hi, and welcome back to this episode of the Real Fit podcast. Our guest today is Jamie Gold. She is a self-proclaimed former couch potato turned athlete. In the wake of the financial crisis of 2008, Jamie was very sedentary and, as she puts it, checked out. At that point, her husband announced that he wanted a divorce. Knowing that something had to change, she says she knew she was either going to have a heart attack or die at the rate she was going. She started swimming laps in her neighborhood pool. Today, Jamie is a Mayo Clinic certified wellness coach, a wellness design consultant, and the author of 3 books. Most recently, she published Wellness by Design, which gives people actionable strategies to modify their homes in ways that support their health on any budget. Since turning 50, Jamie Gold has done marathons, half marathons, obstacle course races, including a Spartan trifecta, and she has summited Mount Whitney, which is the highest peak in the lower 48 states. This December, she is training for Mt Kilimanjaro. She was going to summit it over a year ago, but the pandemic thwarted that plan. But as you will find out, Jamie is not one to give up easily. In this episode, she talks really openly with a ton of vulnerability about how she changed her life, how she's fallen, literally, along the way, and why and how she keeps on getting back up. If you need a dose of positivity today, you are going to find it here. I promise you. Jamie is just dispensing truth bombs left and right in this episode. She's also giving practical suggestions on how your home can help you recover better for your next workout. And if that topic speaks to you, please join her every first and third Wednesday of the month on Clubhouse for Wellness Wednesdays. I'm going to link to that in the show notes. This episode is going to drop on Tuesday, June 15th. So if you are listening to it right when it releases, join us tomorrow or today, depending when you're listening. I'll just be straightforward about it. Wednesday, June 16th. Join us for Wellness Wednesdays on Clubhouse. Jamie is going to have me as her special guest, and I am so excited. I will be talking about how to create a home workout setup that supports you, including what you need, what you don't need, and I will be answering all of your questions. So bring them to Wellness Wednesdays on Clubhouse. The time is 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And if you are waiting to get on Clubhouse, what are you waiting for? I have invitations for you. So text me, email me, SpeakPipe me. You're going to find the link to drop me a voicemail message, aka SpeakPipe, in the show notes. Just find me and ask me for a Clubhouse invitation. I have them. First come, first served. And Clubhouse was originally only available for iPhone users. Now it's available for everybody, including Android users. So come visit us on Clubhouse tomorrow if you're interested in hearing more from me and Jamie. Without further ado, let's dive into the episode. Thanks for being here today. This is me and Jamie Gold in conversation. Jamie Gold, welcome to the Real Fit podcast.
Well, thank you, Pam. Glad to be here.
I'm so glad you joined us. I want to start by just asking you to just quickly tell us where you live, what you do, how old are you?
All right. Well, I turned 60 in December, so I'll start with that one.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Uh,
That was a big milestone.
Yeah.
And I am a wellness design consultant, an author, and a speaker. So that's what I do professionally. Now, and you had another question, which was,
Which
where do I live?
was, where are you? In California, right?
I'm in San Diego.
I
Yes, I
love
love it
San
here.
Diego. So I originally met you pre-COVID when you were training for, was it Mount Kilimanjaro?
Yes,
Okay. But
Kilimanjaro.
yeah, so tell us, let's back way, way, way up. Kind of give us a snapshot of like who you were what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago versus who you are now, because you've
Oh,
had like a real metamorphosis.
well, I was never an athletic kid. I hated gym, and I was one of those chosen last for the team. I did play with friends with punch ball and stickball and handball and all the other Brooklyn outdoor sports, but it
Yeah.
was always just, hey, you're here, you're there, let's have fun.
Yeah.
But never enjoyed gym, didn't even like exercise. And through my teens would get a bit pudgy and then take some weight off and get heavier and spiraling that way and yo-yoing. And I've always preferred just to kind of read and watch TV and do those things than do anything involved with sports, although swimming was something I grew up with a pool and did, and uh, also just like I said, casual things. And then when I moved to California in my 20s, the first time I did some hiking and enjoyed that. But again, I never saw myself as an athlete. I was, the creative one. I was the writer. I was, that was my identity. So
Yeah.
I made a career transition from working as a writer, as a media executive to the design world, essentially trading my Jones, New York silk pantsuits for an orange Home Depot apron, which is quite the shift. But I loved design. I'd always loved design and looked for a way to make it a career. And that was pretty much the only moving around that I was doing in those days. When you work in a retail environment, there's a lot of, walking around and helping people and standing. So I did that. But when I would come home from work, I would be sitting on the couch
Yeah.
and snacking and eating junk food. So that was my reality through my 40s.
20s through 40s.
And when my marriage crashed and burned, much to my surprise, because I was a bit tuned out, I thought I'd better do something or I'm going to have a heart attack or a stroke. And that was my impetus to get active in some way, to get off the bloody couch. I was at that point 233 pounds and pretty much completely sedentary. And I started swimming again because it's no impact. You're not pounding unless you hit your elbow against the edge of the pool, which I've done more than once. But largely it's a non-impact, and that helped me take off 30 pounds. Okay. And it also, for some reason, my body started to crave healthier foods when I was swimming.
Yeah.
So that helped too. Instead of eating the Oreos with my ex on the couch, I was eating more fruits and vegetables just because my body was asking for it.
Yeah, you were starting to tune back in.
I was tuning back in, exactly. Yeah. And then when I moved to California, or I should say back to California, I always wanted to live in San Diego. So that was the silver lining to the marriage ending, was getting to live where I wanted to, in a place where you can work out outdoors almost all year round.
Yeah, because at some point in there, at some point in there, had you moved to Florida and then come back?
I had moved to Florida in earlier years. So I became a designer in Florida.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're in San Diego, you're in Florida.
Executive designer in Florida. Also started to write about design when I lived in Florida. And then the economy crashed and I got depressed. And, then the marriage went along with it. And I said, well, I need to change my life here. And part of that was moving to a place that I'd always wanted to live.
So did you start swimming while you were still in Florida, or once you got to San Diego?
I started swimming in Florida. I didn't have a pool when I first moved here, and I was renting a place downtown.
Yep.
So my way to get cardio in was to do the hills and stairs in my neighborhood. And every morning I would get up, I'd get dressed, I'd go out, and I would just spend about 45 minutes hitting those hills and stairs hard.
Okay.
And the first time I hit the biggest hill near my house, I couldn't get all the way up without stopping. But by the time I moved from that address into the place I'm now that I bought, I could do that hill without gasping.
Awesome. Can we back up a little bit? I know we're not close to the end of your metamorphosis
That's
yet.
okay. But that was a big transition.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned while you were a kid that or I don't know exactly what you meant when you said when you were younger, you were heavier, you were losing weight, you were getting heavier. Mm-hmm. When do you remember the first time you went on a diet?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't even know that I called it that. My mom, was into healthy eating.
Okay.
So, when I was living at home, I think at some point she said, well, we're not going to have dessert every night after dinner, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember actively restricting your food?
Not really, but I probably did. It was a different consciousness then. I mean, I think there's so much more emphasis on teen girls now, or 14 girls.
Yeah.
And it was back then. It was, I was getting heavier than I liked being.
Mm-hmm. But it was from you. It wasn't your parents saying, Jamie, you better watch it.
Not really them.
Yeah.
More me.
So you were motivated to walk the hills in your neighborhood just to continue on the momentum that you built from swimming?
Exactly. Okay. Exactly.
And did you have a goal in mind other than just getting healthier? At
that point, no. It was really, I wanted to lose weight, feel good, be healthy, not die. And I didn't specifically have a goal in mind for that. I think, getting down to a healthy weight was really, what I wanted to achieve. I wasn't into athletics at that point. That was exercise. Mm-hmm. And it was the exercise I could do while I lived in a studio without amenities, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then how did you make the leap was the next thing you did the half marathons?
No, there was a lot of time between then and that half marathon or any running at all.
Okay. Talk us through that.
Well, when I lost the weight, which was really about restricting carbs, and being active, I bought a townhouse I call Chez J, mm-hmm. and I have a gym here and a pool. And so I was able to lose the rest of the weight. It was basically losing about 100 pounds. Wow. The challenge became keeping it off.
Yeah.
And losing weight's fun and glamorous and exciting, and people compliment you because they can see the difference. But keeping it off is a lifelong challenge. Mm-hmm. And it's much harder, I found. And I realized at some point that dieting and exercising weren't really working as well because your body adapts. Mm-hmm. It wants to hold on to, its resources. Mm-hmm. So I was at that point doing volunteer work for veterans charities. And I went to a Tough Mudder, mm-hmm. and was volunteering for a Wounded Warrior charity. And I ended up on the finish line of the race. Now, I had never been to an obstacle course race before, never thought about it. I didn't really know what they were, but there I was standing at the finish line, putting headbands on the people as they crossed the finish. And I saw people of all ages and all sizes, and some were running across that finish line, some were practically crawling across the finish line. But what struck my attention most, other than the diversity of ages and abilities, were people who in teams. They all had the same shirts on, they crossed arm in arm, and that looked kind of fun to me because I live alone and I work alone. Yeah. So I thought maybe I should check this out. Yeah. So I went online and I found a meetup group for obstacle course racing here. And I tried it, and it was a little bit of trail running and a little bit of doing things that didn't come naturally, but it was fun. And I won an entry to a Spartan race, which is a different obstacle course race. And I thought, well, that's the universe's way of telling me to try this thing.
Yeah.
And for somebody whose ex-boyfriend used to say, "El Klutzo strikes again," it wasn't a natural fit. But I thought, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be active and out and involved with people. And I won that entry, and I signed up for a race 7 months out. I thought that would give me half a year to train and presumably not die when I got to the race.
Always a good
goal. I got in the best shape I'd been just from all the training.
Yeah. What was the training like? How was it different from what you'd been doing?
Well, training was doing obstacles. It was with this meetup group that was led by an obstacle course race trainer and champion. And he set up a course. So we were doing things like crawling under obstacles that would stand in for barbed wire. We were going over 6-foot walls. We were doing trail running. We were lifting heavy things and carrying them, and all the things that we would do at the race, including lots of burpees.
Those are no fun.
Because at a Spartan race, if you don't complete an obstacle, that's a 30 burpee penalty.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So if you got to do them, you want to be in shape for them.
So I got in the habit of doing burpees in the morning.
Yeah.
I call them burpees before breakfast.
Yeah.
And I figured a friend of mine hosted a burpee-thon. And it was 300 burpees, and however long it took you. It took me just about an hour to do 300. But I figure if I could do 300, that means I can miss 10 obstacles and still complete this race.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So I made friends.
Yeah.
I shared training tips with people. We shared ideas about what fuel works best. And of course, when you're training for an event, you're trying different energy solutions and hydration solutions. And so by the time I got to the race, I was well prepared. I knew I wasn't going to master the rope climb. Never could in training, wouldn't on the course.
Mm-hmm.
But I got through, I completed it, I had fun, showed myself I could do things I never thought I could do. Mm-hmm. And those races are all about people helping people too. So it was a whole lot of fun. And I learned in the process that having an event goal, in that case, completing a Spartan, and training and fueling for it was much more exciting and motivating to me than dieting and exercise had ever been.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kept setting new goals, and along the way came a half marathon, and further down the line came a full marathon, and trying to hit a sub 35K, which I never did actually. Yeah. But I was shooting for that. Yeah. And then summiting Mount Whitney, which is the highest peak in the lower 48 states.
Yeah.
Did that one. But here I was, a woman in her 50s, a recovering couch potato, who suddenly was doing all these things outside and inspiring myself essentially to continue and looking for new ways to challenge myself mentally and physically.
I love that. Can we back up? I love what you just said, that you were inspiring yourself. Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody if somebody came to you and said, inspire myself? How would I begin to do that?
I think it takes a willingness to risk being uncomfortable, which is some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my life. And it also takes looking at your strengths, because we all have them. We all have weaknesses. I'm not agile. I mean, I am perfectly capable of tripping on something on a perfectly flat trail, which I've created my own hashtag trail fail. So we all have our shortcomings. Even Olympic athletes have their shortcomings, and we all have our strengths. And I say to people, the world's going to do a pretty good job of beating you up if you let it. So don't buy into that. What do you do well? What do you really enjoy doing? And build on that.
Yeah.
See yourself in a way that empowers you.
Yeah. And when you say seeing yourself, I mean, would that involve like visualizing or writing down affirmations, or just simply going, oh, that's a goal I want to do? What does that mean to see yourself doing something different?
I think it's probably different for different people.
Yeah.
Some people are into affirmations. Some people are into vision boards. Some people are into goals. Find what works for you. I think it was Mozart who might have said, improvise in your own style.
Yeah.
So for me, setting the goals was the first step, and then coming up with training plans and nutrition ideas to meet them was the way I did it. And in doing so, I kind of started to think of myself as an amateur athlete, not as a professional, not as a competitor. I was always competing with myself. How can I be faster on the next 5K than I was on the one before? Or the goal was just to complete something I had never completed before.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the events I did, it was an endurance event. The first time I did one, my goal was just to survive. You didn't know if it was going to be 5 hours or 8 hours. And it was a military style endurance event called a Go Ruck Light. And that when I did the second one, which they're now called, they were called Go Ruck Challenges at that time. I think they're called Go Ruck Toughs now. My goal was that everyone in our group would complete it. So my mindset shifted from just me and what I was going to do and needed. How can I help ensure that the entire group completed this event? And it took me out of my head. It spoke into that listening for community and camaraderie, the same things that got me interested in the Spartan.
Yeah. Yeah. Community is so powerful and putting on other people, like just helping rather. I love that.
Right.
When you mentioned that you started to see yourself as an athlete, can you remember like a moment when it occurred to you, wow, have I've recreated my identity? Do you remember a moment when you realized you truly were an athlete?
Well, there were probably two. At the time, I was doing a lot of running, which I had never done before. My whole story about running was too much pounding, too hard on my joints, not going to do it. But when I started to train for the Spartan, I started to run, and I found that I enjoyed it. And so I also signed up for road races. And I never called myself a runner until I completed the Marine Corps Marathon. That's when I said, I can call myself a runner now.
Yeah.
I completed a marathon.
Awesome.
And the other piece of it is there is a concept in my professional world, in the design world, called aging in place. It's where older people who might have some physical limitations or challenges, get to stay in their homes for as long as they can live independently, rather than going to some sort of facility. And I never liked the term, even though I actually am certified in that practice, and I was motivated to that field because of my grandmother's challenges. I found people don't like the A word. They don't like aging. They don't want to think about it. I was one of them. I dreaded turning 60 until I did. But backing up a bit, when I would do writing about aging in place, because I do think accessibility is an important design concept in independent living, I thought, there's probably a better way to think about this. And people write about inclusive design or accessible design or universal design. So I kind of thought, well, rather than aging in place, I would think of myself as an athlete in place. I would think about the times that it would be tough to just use my home because I was so sore from training.
Yeah.
Or from an event. And I feel like a 80-year-old lady, just how sore my body would be.
Yeah.
And I would think about my needs and the things that benefited me as a weekend athlete.
Yeah.
And it was about me supporting my well-being, my ability to not just live independently, which I do, but also to thrive, to be an athlete, to have my home support my fitness goals.
Yeah.
So the whole athlete in place concept came before the Marine Corps Marathon, and that when I started actually say, well, I'm a runner. And now, ironically, I'm not running, but I still think of myself as an athlete in place.
Well, you do so many different sports. And I love that so I have a background as an occupational therapist. So I'm very familiar with aging in
Oh,
place
okay.
and universal design. And I just love that. Could we call it thriving in place, maybe? Because what you just described is like, it's so beautiful because it's true. You're doing more than aging as you're getting older. And if you have a rich life, like aging sounds like you're just sitting around withering. Like, but you're talking about living your life to the fullest capacity in a healthy, safe way.
That's the goal, absolutely. And that's the focus. And
Yeah.
again, I mentioned I was dreading turning 60. It sounded so dang old to me. And then I thought, the things that were pretty cool in my 50s are even cooler in my 60s.
Tell me
The
more about
fact,
that. How
well,
so?
you know, I'm the fact that I will be summiting Kilimanjaro at 61 is something not a lot of other 61-year-olds do. And it's about thriving. And that's my word, my goal, my vision for this decade of my life is to be as healthy and happy and personally and professionally successful as I can be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To keep, inspiring myself, and if that helps others along the way, because they see that if that person can do it, and she's not agile, she's not a jock, she's not a twig, she's somebody who is doing these things, I could do it too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much power in being able to see other people do things and know, hey, like what you just said. I think that's wonderful. Um,
It's the
you
every woman concept.
Yes. Well, you mentioned like having a vision for yourself.
Mhm.
Do you take time on any kind of like do you carve out special time each year or each month to go, what am I going to prioritize? Like where do I want to be in a year or in 3 years? Or is it something that's more nebulous for you?
On the professional side, personal side, or athletic side?
Oh, give me all three.
Okay, so on the professional side, yes. Last year's focus was writing the book.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a book I had wanted to write for years, and Simon and Schuster said, "Yes, we'll publish this." And that was before the pandemic.
Yeah.
The idea was your home can support your health and wellness goals, and here's how. And then, of course, the pandemic came, so it was postponed 6 months, but it came out in the midst of that and was helpful to people. But each year has professional goals, whether it's writing a book or launching a talk or reaching new audiences. So that's an ongoing process.
Hmm.
On the personal side, when I went through the Mayo Clinic certified wellness coaching program, they talked about creating wellness visions with your clients. And so I've done that for clients in getting the 50 hours I needed to gain the certification. And I realized about a year ago, I never did one for myself. And I probably should.
Yeah.
So I worked with one of my colleagues who's a coach and came up with a wellness vision. And it is something that I refer back to. It's something that I hone. It's something that I keep in the favorites on my phone photos, so I can always look at it when I need reinforcement. And a wellness vision is, here's me at my best, living my best life. That's really what it is. And when I coach people, which I do, to maintain my certification, when I coach people, it's, so you have the vision. This is your why. Why is it important for you to not smoke any longer? Why is it important for you to achieve your weight goal? Why is it important to you to reduce your stress? And your wellness vision essentially encompasses that. And then you set goals and action plans for achieving them. So I do that for myself too. The completing the Spartan had the goals and the plan and the time frame, and training for the Marine Corps Marathon, same thing, and
Yeah.
training for Mount Whitney, same thing. And now I'm applying that approach to training for Kilimanjaro.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. I want to ask you something. You mentioned that you want to ask your clients or ask yourself, what's your why when you come up with a goal? So if you had a client that came to you and said, I would like to lose weight, and the reason is I think I'll love myself more or I'll be happier when I lose weight, what would you say to that person?
I would say, well, I applaud you for both of those. Those are great ideas to have. Let's delve a bit deeper. What does happiness look like for you? Let's look at it in terms of the people in your life and how you're living and your career and the things that make you happy. How does losing weight fit into that for you? What will it let you do that you can't do now?
Yeah, I appreciate that you said that. I mean, I think that there's like a myth in our culture that that losing weight will make you happy. And I think the truth is
Hmm.
that's external, right? Like if you don't truly love yourself, a number on the scale isn't going to change it, is it?
It may make you feel momentarily joyful
Yeah.
about it, but I believe that happiness isn't due to any factor other than gratitude for what you have, having a purpose in your life that you're living into, and essentially taking care of your responsibilities. I actually came across that decades ago in a book called Happiness is a Serious Problem.
Oh, I want to link to that in the show notes. Happiness is a serious problem. Do you remember
Yeah.
the author?
Dennis Prager.
Okay, thanks. And well, you mentioned having purpose as the primary driver of happiness. What would you say your purpose is?
My purpose is to live authentically, make a difference in the world, and thrive. I mean,
Mm,
just really, it's not just one thing for me.
yeah.
It's essentially having this vision of what I can contribute when I'm at my best, whether it's
Yeah.
wellness designed for everyone, not just the well-to-do.
Hmm.
Is one purpose that I focus on, whether it's fairness for people, regardless of who they are, whether it's empowering people through just living life authentically.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Kind of want to segue a little bit. You mentioned, oh, how can you help people through offering wellness design tips that are in reach, regardless of budget? What are like 3 or 4 top tips from your Wellness by Design book that can help many people to recover better from workouts or to prepare better for workouts or just to really thrive in their homes?
I'm glad you asked that question. From a just standpoint of being and stress reduction, because I think as we transition, we're still dealing with a lot of stress and maybe some new stresses too as we worry about transitioning from a pandemic mode to a post-pandemic mode. What I always suggest to people is incorporate as much nature into your space as you can, whether it's plants in your office, to access to natural light. If you have a patio or a deck or a balcony, that you can just step outside for 5 or 10 minutes at a time, just to hear the sounds of birds, smell whatever nature fragrances are there, to decompress. That is great for your psyche and it's great for your health, and it's even good for indoor air quality to have as many plants and nature elements as you can. So that would be one example. Another would be we know that food is fuel for your workouts, for your training, for your goals. So optimize your kitchen for easy fueling, for healthy fueling. And what that could look like is, I'm not talking about a $50,000 remodel or even a facelift. I'm talking about making your kitchen as efficient and easy and pleasant to work in as you can, which starts with decluttering. Just about every kitchen project I ever walked in on, every client I've ever visited, every Mayo Clinic coach client I've ever spoken to starts with, my kitchen is so dark and cluttered, I can't stand being there. Well, that means you're probably not doing the meal prep as frequently. It might be easier just to call in for a Uber Eats or go out. So make your kitchen a pleasant place. Get rid of things you're not using or move them out of the kitchen key areas. Make it as organized as you can. Your next step after decluttering would be things like adding organizers within the cabinets. And some of them are freestanding. So if you're renting a place, you can take them with you, like adjustable drawer dividers that help you find the tools you need more easily. Get rid of any countertop appliances that don't foster healthy eating. So say goodbye to the deep fryer and hello to an air fryer, as an example.
Yeah.
Or, get rid of the fondue pot and bring in a crock pot or an Instapot. Just as those instances, you don't need to invest in really expensive appliances to have a kitchen that helps you eat healthfully and enjoy being in there a bit longer. For people who have weight issues and tile floors, which a lot of kitchens do, I recommend an anti-fatigue mat. Where you put that in a space that you spend the most time standing, whether it's in front of an island where you do your prep or in front of a range where you do your cooking. And it will take a lot of pressure off your joints. Because if you want to encourage yourself to go out and run 3 miles after work or after school or after getting the kids off, you don't want to feel sore and achy. So an anti-fatigue mat is something I discovered when I was at my heaviest, and it was a game changer. And so I have one now. I mean, I got custody of it in a divorce. So I brought it to San Diego, and I love that thing.
An anti-fatigue mat. I mean, can you just get one like on Amazon? Or is it just like a cushioned mat?
I mean, there's companies like Joe Pro and Wellness Mats, and I think they sell them at some of the big box stores like Bed Bath & Beyond and others like that. And look for one that it holds smoothly to the floor, so it's not going to slip around, is as thick and cushiony as you can get, and try that. I mean, whether you have a wood floor or a tile floor, but tile floors, especially over concrete slabs, which a lot of homes in places like Florida and Southern California are, it will just make your body so much happier if you do a lot of meal prepping or cooking or baking's your hobby.
Okay, great. Okay, so we've got get your outside time, get your plants, get all the natural light you can get, make your kitchen decluttered and user friendly.
And anti-fatigue mat. Well, let's look at bedroom next. Because we all know how important sleep is for recovery. If you're not sleeping well or you're not sleeping enough, you're not going to perform well at your race the next day, or you're not going to perform well in your job.
Yeah.
It is absolutely essential. So what can you do to optimize your bedroom for sleep? Well, if you have light coming in from outside, maybe it's a street light, maybe it's car lights, whatever it is, you could put blackout window coverings up. They'll also help with your energy bills this summer too, by the way. So that's one way to make the room darker.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of blue light in your room, whether it's from TV, whether it's from a clock radio, look at ways to either screen it or replace that blue light on an alarm clock or a bedside lamp with something that's, a warmer light, as an example. Same with your bathroom vanity lights. Because think about it, that's the last place you're in usually before you go to sleep. Is brushing your teeth, taking any medicines, flossing, all of that. So you don't want those lights to be blue either.
Oh, okay. So a warmer shade of light.
Warmer shades. Look, if you have noise issues, look at ways to eliminate those. Maybe it's moving a bed to an opposite wall, so it's away from an outside wall or a neighboring room that's not a sleep space. Soft surfaces can help muffle sound. If you have exercise equipment in the next room or above, cushion that, for example, so you're not getting that vibration as well. So look at ways to make your bedroom as sleep friendly as possible. Some people, it's white noise machines or a ceiling fan with just that soft whir.
Mm-hmm. Okay, those are some great tips.
And
Those are
none of
great.
those cost a whole bunch of money either, if any.
Yeah, that's great.
The tips in the Wellness by Design book are for people who rent as well as people who own.
Awesome. Can we switch gears a little bit? I want to go back to something you had said about being interested in the Spartan race from having volunteered and then finding the meetup and going to your first group workout. Do you remember, like, were you nervous showing up for the first time? You were nervous. Yeah. Talk to us about that. Like, what would you say to the person who's like, I'm just too scared to show up. I'm afraid I'm too slow, too weak, too anything.
So what? Maybe you are all of those things. I'm too slow. My first 15K, I think I did, it took me more than 2 hours to complete that. That is slow. It didn't stop me from participating. Don't let things that you fear, don't let things that you dislike stop you from doing something that could be a lot of fun. Okay. I mean, if you think you're going to enjoy something, if maybe you're not a runner, you're not I wasn't a runner when I showed up.
Yeah.
But I thought this can be fun because I saw people having fun doing it and I wanted some of that for myself. So I didn't let my fears get in my way of having a good time. Okay.
So you saw the fears and you saw the fun and you said, I'm going to prioritize fun.
Exactly. What's the worst that can happen?
Yes.
I had already had the experience of being out with a trail running group. And the first time I went out with them, in the first quarter mile, I fell over something. I still don't know to this day what it was, but I sprawled out horizontally, my hands out, completely awkward, embarrassing, #trail fail in the biggest way possible. What happened? I skinned my knee and my hands and I got up and I continued on and that was it.
Yeah.
The world didn't end. I was no worse off than I was before, but I was out with a group of nice people having fun.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that they're like what you said about community and they're out with the nice people. I have found some of the nicest, funnest people on runs and on bike rides. And even in like the 2 seconds when you're at the wall while you're swimming, I feel like in general, athletes are such a welcoming community.
I think that's true too. And I think people are welcoming. And there's this image that I think has been exacerbated by social media where we see everyone looking perfect. And we see their highlight reel and we compare ourselves to that. And when you allow yourself to be authentic, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and make mistakes and sprawl out on the ground in front of a group of trail runners, people will feel more comfortable telling you about their moments like that. And you know what? I've seen Olympic races where runners stumble.
Yeah.
I've seen divers hit their head on the board. When you see other people in their natural state, in real life, people feel more comfortable approaching you, talking to you, sharing their vulnerabilities. And it's okay. It's okay to stumble.
Yes. Yeah. It's what makes you human. It's like, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast is so that no matter what anybody thinks about you based on your social media or anything that maybe you come on and you share a story and people go, wow, that person is really successful. Oh, and they're human and they're insecure about a few things and they make mistakes. And guess what? Like we're all in this together, more or less.
Exactly. You hear from so many other people who have faced the same challenges and you get to give something of yourself to them. It's a gift. Allowing yourself to be authentic is a gift to people in ways that you may not understand at first. But when somebody approaches you later and says, you know, you said that or you did that and it really resonated with me and here's my story, you're creating something that is just really powerful.
Have you always valued authenticity the way that you do now?
It is definitely a developed phenomenon. I was trying to be perfect. I'm in the design world where there are so many talented, beautiful people who achieve perfection on camera. That's not me. I mean, it never has been me, and I really tried to make that myself. And especially at the pandemic, where suddenly you're on camera a heck of a lot more than I ever was before. And those first few efforts just to make a video were that was the most painful weekend of my adult life, practically. I suffered. It was torture. And now it's like, well, you know what? This is who I am. And I have valuable info to share. And I'm probably not going to look perfect doing it. And I'm going to miss the spot here or there. And my hair will be fuzzy because that's what it does. And you know what? I'm 60. I've got wrinkles. I'm not doing Botox. And I would rather be approachable. I'd rather be authentic than be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more authentic I am, the happier I am, the healthier I am, the less stressed.
Yeah. And you also mentioned gratitude earlier. Do you have a gratitude practice, or do you sort of just integrate it into your whole life?
Well, both.
Tell me more.
I don't remember when I started this, but every morning when I get out of bed, I have a beautiful wool silk Persian rug that was actually a gift for my 50th birthday. And I stand on that rug and I say a gratitude prayer that I created. And I stretch while I'm doing it. And so that's how I start my day, with an expression of gratitude and moving my body.
Mm-hmm.
And that puts me in a positive, grateful mindset, because I'm reminding myself every morning of what I'm grateful for in my life. However crummy that day goes, there are things that I'm grateful for. And one of the things that I learned in going through the divorce, and I'm going to jump the gun on you for a minute because I know you're going to ask me about my favorite book.
Yeah.
And I have lots of favorite books, but the one I think that's had the most impact on me is a book called The Power of Now.
Okay.
By Eckhart Tolle. And a friend suggested reading it while I was going through my divorce. I had moved to San Diego. I was restarting my life. And one of my ex's very accurate criticisms was that I wasn't present for the last, months of our marriage. I was so stressed about the Great Recession and, not having success and losing my job and, like everyone else, just not having that income stream that I'd had before because of the recession. I wasn't present. I was living in the future.
Mm.
And so one of my decisions was and it was inspired by his comment and by reading that book, was however crummy things were or are, to be in the moment, to live in the now. And that has been very, very powerful for me.
Mm.
Being in the now, not stressing about the past, not stressing about the future. This is where I am and I can handle this.
Mm.
It might feel crummy at the moment, but this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a lot happier since then.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What, speaking of your divorce, can you tell us, what was the most challenging part of going through that?
It was probably being surprised that it was happening. I wasn't expecting that. I was going on 49, and I had devoted a lot of my time and energy and made changes in my life to accommodate my ex-husband's needs. And again, I wasn't present because I was looking forward to where we would live next and how we would live next and, all those future things. So I think I was a bit shocked.
Yeah.
And dealing with that transition was something. My parents were married 40 years. My ex-husband's parents were married about the same.
Yeah.
We didn't come from that background where that was almost an expectation. Well, if you couldn't make it, so what?
Yeah.
We both came from that tradition of you're together till death do you part.
Yeah. Do you, if somebody's listening who's going through a divorce right now, do you have any advice that you think could be helpful to other people?
I would say a few things. One is generate some endorphins for yourself. Get up, get out in nature, be physical, do what you enjoy doing. Again, I don't like the E word much more than I like the A word. Exercise has never been my thing. If you love walking, go walk. Find a spot that you've always wanted to explore or be in, nature. I think some of the Scandinavian and Japanese cultures call it forest bathing, where you're just soaking up the nature around you. If you live in a city, walk with a friend in a park. Whatever is available to you, that's you can do. So that's one thing. The other is look at your share and your partner's share. It's usually not just one or the other. It's usually, what can I make better for myself in my life? What's valid here? Because if it's all about what he's doing or what she's doing and not taking ownership of your own patterns, you don't get that opportunity to grow and thrive.
I love what you just said, that it can be an opportunity. As
Absolutely.
much as it's a crisis and a loss, it could be an opportunity. Yeah.
The silver linings for me were getting to live where I wanted to live and getting healthy again.
Yeah. How long did it take you, would you say, from the time that your ex said he wanted to separate? How many months or years did it take you to look back and go, actually, that was an opportunity?
After that first shock and the first worst 6 months of my life, when we were trying to sell the house, deal with the issues, realizing marriage counseling was not going to work, my moving, to California, it didn't take me long to realize this was a good move. I was still dealing with the emotional, issues, but I was in a better place, both physically and geographically. Mm-hmm. So that really did help.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you were reinventing yourself at the same time.
Life is about creating yourself. And you can recreate yourself too.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in the next decade? Like on your 70th birthday, where do you imagine the recreated version of Jamie will be?
Well, there are certainly professional goals that I would like to achieve between now and then. And that could impact how I'm living, where I'm living. I'm currently in a 3-story townhouse in a neighborhood that I love. I don't know that I'm going to be in the same home. I would like to develop wellness communities.
Ooh.
That is a goal of mine. And so I could see myself living in a home in one of those wellness communities. And a wellness community is a place that is multi-generational. It's walkable. It's accessible. It has a community center and shopping and amenities that attract both young families and the grandparents.
That sounds idyllic. That sounds lovely.
I mean, you've probably heard of the Sun Cities and maybe the Margaritavilles and all these other concepts that are out there to create communities that have an identifying feel to them. Well, again, I want to create a template for all age wellness communities that are not going to be luxury enclaves where only the richest people can live. It's a strong belief of mine that wellness design should not just be for the well-to-do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sign me up for one of these wellness communities. It sounds awesome. Let's go into the quick set.
Okay.
I know you mentioned The Power of Now. What is another favorite book you would want to share with us?
Well, I love history and novels about history. My dad, when he was alive, and I would share book back and forth. And the last book that he recommended to me was A Gentleman from Moscow. It's a wonderful novel. He also shared news of the world, and I shared those with my book club.
Sharing a book with a loved one, I feel like is such a special bond. I think that's really sweet that you remember your dad's last recommendation to you.
Absolutely. So meaningful. And I miss that. When I read a book recently for book club called Indianapolis, and I said to my siblings and my book group, this is the kind of book I would have been buying for Father's Day.
That's really sweet. What is your favorite movie?
A Few Good Men.
Okay. What was your first car?
A Ford Escort.
Awesome. Let's see. What has been your most memorable race or event?
I'd say probably the Marine Corps Marathon.
Yeah. The whole thing or the finish line or anything specific?
One moment that really struck me was the Blue Mile, where they have a stretch of the course where they honor fallen soldiers. And that was very, very moving. And there was actually a soldier along that route that was honored that we had read about in one of our book club meetings.
Oh.
And there was a Navy pilot who had been in an accident, lost his life, and I'm now friends with his wife.
Wow. Small world.
Yeah. So I would say the Blue Mile was definitely one of those moments. And, running past the monuments. That course goes by the Lincoln Monument, the Capitol. It was very powerful.
Yeah, sounds like it. What is your superpower?
Tenacity.
Awesome. What is the fitness gear you cannot live without?
My Go Ruck Zero Pack, GR0. It's the ruck that I wear, that I summited Mount Whitney with, that I will be summiting Kilimanjaro with, that I do my training hikes with. So,
does it have a hydration pouch or something? Like what
it has a space for that. I actually have a hydration pouch that I bought from the same company in it. It's got, I could put side pockets on to hold other items if I want. It's got great pockets in it, but it is the most durable piece of equipment I've owned. You can go under barbed wire with it. You can just beat it to heck and then just hose it off.
Yep. That sounds great. Okay, I'll link to that in the show notes. What is your favorite workout?
Scenic hikes with a friend.
Scenic hikes with a friend. Is there a particular one in the San Diego area that you especially love?
There are so many hikes here. I am so blessed to have great hiking with wildflowers and gorgeous views, whether it's mountains or ocean, just throughout the county. I couldn't pick one any more than you could pick a favorite child.
Yeah. Yeah, no, San Diego really is breathtaking. I want to go back. I visited a few times, but I love it.
Well, we'll go hiking when you come out next time.
I'd love to. And when you come to Boulder, there's some really stunning hikes here. So I'll have
lots of 14ers there, right?
Yes. Would you believe I have yet to do a 14er? I have biked up a 14er on a paved road, but never hiked.
That's harder.
No, it's just harder. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Risk being uncomfortable.
That is wonderful advice. What a great stopping point. Where can we find you? Tell us again the name of your book. Where are you on social media? All that good stuff.
The Wellness by Design is the name of the book. A room-by-room guide to optimizing your home for health, fitness, and happiness. But Wellness by Design works just by itself.
Great. And I'll link to that.
The easiest place to find me and the book and my blog and just my 5 facets of wellness design quiz to see how your home is supporting or sabotaging your family's health and fitness is at my website, jamiegold.net.
Okay.
At .net, I'm going to emphasize.
Yes, jamiegold.net. And I will put that in the show notes. So all you have to do is scroll down and click on it. It'll take you right there. Okay, great. And where are you most active on social media?
I have a pretty active Facebook page. I'm just starting a Wellness Wednesdays group on Clubhouse.
Oh,
which is the audio only platform. So you don't need any fancy hair or makeup or lighting.
yep.
You could just get on, and now it's Android and iPhone friendly.
Wow, that's awesome. I was waiting for that to happen.
So it has happened. So Wellness Wednesdays, and I'm JG Wellness Design pretty much everywhere, but no I on Clubhouse. It's going to be open conversations about the links between your home and your health. It's healthy living, healthy home conversations, and I'll have special guests on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have the first one this is going to air after that. So we'll be in full swing by the time this airs in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be a link on my homepage then to get right to these Clubhouse conversations.
That's
so for people who want to know more about nurturing your inner athlete at home and your outer athlete at home, this is going to be the space for that. And it's definitely a come as you are.
That's awesome. I love it. And the nice thing about these Clubhouse conversations is you can drop in if you only have 5 minutes. It's not like you're slamming the door and disrupting people if you leave. You literally press a button to leave quietly. And for anybody listening who needs a Clubhouse invite, check in with me because I might have some. I'm not sure, again, like when is this airing? What will the situation be? But it would not hurt to reach out to me and ask because I'm happy to invite anyone who asks. If I have extra invites. So that's awesome. Okay. So Wellness by Design. JamieGold.net. Right?
Okay. JamieGold.com is a poker player.
Okay. So we'll know we're in the wrong place if
you'll know.
You'll know.
You'll know. I actually wrote an article about creating a wellness-centric poker room just to help people who might have gotten to the wrong place.
That's really funny. There's another Pam Moore. There's more, obviously. There's multiple Pam Moores, but there's another one that I think I consistently get mistaken for. And somebody tried to argue with me one time. I said, I think you're looking for like another Pam Moore. And they said, no, my mother's cousin said that. And I was like, no, really? I really think you're looking for this other one. Anyways, Jamie, you have just been such a pleasure to talk to. I've learned so much from you, and I'm so honored that you shared your stories and your time with me and the Real Fit listeners. Thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Congratulations on this new podcast. I'm proud to be in the inaugural season of Real Fit. And let's go hike.
Thank you so much for listening to my conversation with Jamie Gold. My biggest takeaway from that episode is that it is never too late to reinvent yourself. That was probably that was my biggest, right? Never too late. My second biggest takeaway would be that exercise is something, or the E word, as Jamie says, movement, fitness, competition, sports, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't have to be punishment. If anything, it's a celebration of life, of all that you are capable of. It's a way to find and celebrate community. It's a way to push yourself to do things that you never thought were possible. It's also just a way to get out there and enjoy nature. And a fun fact, something Jamie and I have in common is the fact that we both hated gym class and we're both picked last for everything. And I also think of myself as someone who inspires themselves. I never put it in those words. I really liked how Jamie articulated it. But yeah, every time I get out of my comfort zone and I do something that I'm not sure I can do, yeah, I'm inspiring myself. Everything I've ever done as an athlete has kind of informed the way I approach the rest of my life. When I look at something huge and I go, oh my gosh, can I do this? Sure I can. And you can too. You approach everything the way you approach an athletic goal. You kind of go, okay, what's the big goal? All right, well, what are some short-term goals? What are some benchmark goals I can accomplish on the way to that? And in the meantime, what do I need to do each week and each day to get to those benchmark goals? So I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. If you are intrigued about finding out how you can incorporate movement into your life in a way that feels like a celebration and not like a punishment, but you're not sure where to start, please come visit me at pam-moore.com. I can help you with that. I'm a body positive health coach. I have a background as an occupational therapist. I'm an athlete. I'm a certified personal trainer. I can help you, and I would love to help you because exercise shouldn't feel like a chore. It should be something we get to do. And if you want some guidance, I am here for that. Also, in terms of reinvention of oneself, like we talked about in this episode, I am quote unquote officially, or by training, I'm an occupational therapist. I have a master's degree in occupational therapy. And after my second child was born, I sort of had a career metamorphosis and I became a freelance writer. I went from working in hospitals to publishing my writing on parenting websites you've probably never heard of, to now writing regularly for the Washington Post. I also have written for Runner's World, Outside, Self Magazine, Time, The Guardian, and I can help you become a freelance writer also. I wrote an ebook called 7 Pitches That Sold, and in it, I include the actual pitches, like the actual emails, even including typos, that I used to land bylines in some of my dream publications. When I started pitching, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. It's scary. It feels mysterious, but it doesn't need to be mysterious. And so that's why I wrote this 30-page ebook to share with you everything I wish I knew when I started as a freelance writer. So for my Real Fit listeners, I want to give you a special discount. Use the code REALFIT50 when you check out to get 50% off of my ebook, 7 Pitches That Sold. And there's a link to where you can buy it in the show notes. Okay, so that's 7 Pitches That Sold. Hopefully it will be helpful to you. And thank you for listening. That is the final thing, but it's also one of the most important things I want to say. You guys are awesome. Every time I get a text or an email or a Facebook message from somebody telling me that they are enjoying what I'm creating, it makes me so happy and it makes me want to do more. So a couple of you have left me more than a couple, quite a few of you have left me some really nice reviews on Apple Podcasts. So I've got Can't Wait to Hear More from KL Burzins. Thank you, KL Burzins, who says, I always enjoy reading Pam's posts on LinkedIn as they are motivational and a great pick-me-up during my workday. So glad I get to do a deeper dive into Pam's world now that she has a podcast. Thank you. So if you have some kind words for me, don't keep them in your mind. Put them down on a review. Apple Podcasts is where most people listen. If that's where you're listening, awesome. If you listen elsewhere and you can figure out how to leave a review, I know it can be kind of tricky on some of the other platforms, but wherever you leave a review, I am excited for it. It's not just a vanity thing. Although it does give me a boost to read those. It helps other people find this show, and it helps me spread the message of appreciating your body for what it can do and not what it looks like. So until next time, keep it real.